Hey guys, Guy here reacting to the 49ers last preseason game, not doing some big deep breakdown, but some important things. And looking ahead to the 49ers roster cutdowns 1 p.m. on Tuesday. What a bizarre experience seeing Jim Harbaugh, Trey Lance, the son of Terrell Owens, and the son of Jerry Rice all in the same game at Levi Stadium. It really hit me yesterday, and I posted a photo, and I know Brad reposted, Brad Graham of the SF Niners reposted it on Instagram, and it got a lot of attention from his repost because he's a great amplifier in addition to the stuff he does. But it was a photo of I'm standing in the booth, the TV booth at Levi Stadium, which is one of the greatest booth I've ever been in, without a doubt. The view, the whole thing. They got a bathroom. There's so much space. You're on the 4th floor, not the 8th floor, and you're high but not too high, low but not too low. And I'm getting ready to go down to the field, and I look at the monitor, and Jim Harbaugh has a hand on Frank Gore's shoulder, and a hand on Navarro Bowman's there too. But he's got a hand on Frank Gore's shoulder and a hand on Patrick Willis's shoulder. And I was like, what a bizarre. And it really hit me how, and I said this to Tim Ryan during the broadcast or maybe beforehand, Jim Harbaugh packed a lot into 4 years. Kyle Shanahan has been an NFL head coach longer than Jim Harbaugh's been an NFL head coach, which, of course, I mean, Jim left, went to Michigan for 9 years, and now is back in the NFL. I don't think the Chargers are going to be great, by the way, but I won 11 games last year. But it was just, he packed so much into he packed so much into 3 years. Jim Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan are 3 and 4 all time on the 49ers postseason wins list. And to see them coaching against each other, to see Harbaugh back, it's just bizarre. And I got, there was something about Trey Lance I wanted to get into the game that I didn't get into the game. So I'll mention it here. I had it on my board. And it just, he had a couple 3 and outs, and I am not a subscriber to the Trey Lance's. I think a lot of people are rooting for him. I loved the pick. We're not going to rehash all of it. I thought Sam Darnold was clearly better than him 3 years ago in camp. There's been a lot of that. Oh, he has found it now this year. I don't see it, but it doesn't mean he can't become have a long career in terms of he's about to become a starting NFL quarterback. That's what I mean. I don't really see that. But we'll see. I don't know. Is he going to be QB2 or it looks like he'll be QB2. Are they going to keep 3 Taylor Heineke? Are they going to have a run package for him with Greg Roman? Are they going to run him a little bit? I mean, Herbert can do that stuff, but you'd rather keep Herbert out of it. The Niners just played. How did we get through 4 preseason games, sometimes 5 preseason games before? I know the Chargers had 4. But how did we do? That game ended last night, and the Niners had no in-uniform, non-limping quarterbacks. Carter Bradley was limping around from the first series. Tanner Mordecai, they run a sneak. And, of course, he comes out of the sneak limping. Brian Robinson, they made that move official on Sunday, and I'd love to see Brian Robinson in short yardage instead of QB sneaks. I mean, can you afford to have Brock Purdy's gotten better at the QB sneak? Garoppolo was always really good at it. Can you afford to have Jimmy in there sneaking the ball? I mean, maybe if Mac Jones is supposed to be healthy, will be healthy. Maybe you can afford it, but seeing Tanner Mordecai get hurt on a sneak is just it really is a credit to Jalen Hurts that he doesn't get hurt on those quarterback sneaks. But anyway, a few things from the game. It's been so quiet with, and I'll get to the Trey Lance thing later, I think, but it's been so quiet with Jauan Jennings. Then he posts yesterday morning, which is out of the playbook, the receiver or the player, I need money playbook. Will there be any movement on that between now? You would think the DeMarcus Robinson, everyone's waiting for that suspension. Ricky Pearsall, healthy, still waiting on Ayuk. Jacob Cowing, not healthy, at least 6 weeks. DeMarcus Robinson's going to be a really useful player. I know I keep saying it, every preseason game, but it came from watching him in practice. It came from watching him from last year going back. It's just, I really like him. So they're going to miss him, not because they have these other injuries. I mean, that too, but just because he's going to be a really useful player for them. And that comes from looking at his body, like just how big and physical he is. But it comes from also watching him practice and watching him really play hard in these preseason games. And he's playing this much, I'd imagine. I don't think Kyle Shanahan has said it explicitly, but because they know he's going to, they're expecting him to have 2-3 weeks off, whatever it's going to be once the season starts. But I've just been really impressed with him on the field. So he's going to be missed. And, Jordan Watkins, when will he be back? Even if he's back in time for week 1, what can you really expect from him after missing time and just being a rookie receiver in this offense? There's a lot that comes with that. So that's going to be tough. I think that, one of the big headlines, a couple of the big headlines from the game, definitely Jake Moody. I mean, missing the extra point. I saw somebody, and I meant to pull this Athletic Alchemy, and I think he's got a huge, I know because I clicked on it today. He's got a huge YouTube channel. So I went and clicked over and watched some of his basketball stuff, which was cool. But he quoted me. I don't remember exactly. I referenced the wind a few times, the wind out there. And I was careful. I tried to be careful to say it to Tim Ryan during the game because Junior Bergen had a muff, really bad for him, trying to make the 53. I don't think this is just me talking. I'd be surprised. And Luke Grimm, the returner for the Chargers, had 2 muffs. Jake Moody misses the extra point early. And I definitely referenced the wind a few times. And Tim Ryan, the third muff of the game, I'm like, there's been 3 muffs today. Maybe it's the wind. And Tim's like, no excuses. Like, all right, fine. And I wished later I'd said something else, which is that watching Thomas Morstead, the 49ers punter, pregame, I think part of the reason that Luke Grimm muffed 2 punts for the Chargers is that Thomas Morstead has a lot of different kicks in his bag. I mean, 17, almost 2 decades in the NFL, 39 years old. I watched him in pregame really manipulate the ball, and it really does not come across. It does not come across on TV how NFL punters can manipulate the ball. And Morstead has this punt that he practiced in pregame. I watched him do it, that the ball elevates and then just kind of hangs and then nosedives. And that combined with the wind makes it probably impossible. It's probably not an accident that the 3 muffs were from rookies. Luke Grimm's a rookie, 2 for him, Junior Bergen. I thought it was encouraging that Sky Moore looked really comfortable catching the ball because the wind was an issue. And I just want to say, the wind was an issue, and also the expectation for professional kickers and punt catchers is that you can deal with it. I mean, Robbie Gould was very good at it, right? Robbie Gould understood the wind at Levi Stadium and figured it out. It doesn't mean it's not complicated, but I don't even know if the wind was a factor for Jake Moody on the first kick. That thing was it looked like straight left. But it was clear that Kyle Shanahan, the camera had some shots after he misses it. Then he kicks the ball out of bounds. That really looked like was a frustration point because that also was not close to being in bounds. They're clearly trying something, but that was not close to being in bounds. And then he and Brant Boyer pass each other on the sideline without a word. And, it looks like Kyle Shanahan's looking over there, shoots him a glance or something. That's what it looked like on TV. But it's hard to see those angles. You could be looking at anything. But it was clear to me in pregame the wind was such a factor in everybody's mind in the kicking game. And I know some people take that as that's not an excuse. I'm just reporting the weather, okay? I'm just reporting the weather, and it's part of the job to figure that out. I kind of held my breath because then Moody comes out for the second extra point. Or was it a field goal, whatever the order of it was? And, the old line, like, those aren't boos. No, those were boos. And then it was a very sarcastic cheer, a huge roar of a sarcastic cheer after he made the kick. And then there were like a little less, but still some boos the next time, and a big cheer, but kind of sarcastic. So, I think what everybody had hoped is that this would kind of be in the rearview mirror by the time you get to the season. And it's clearly that's just, not going to be the case. And you hope for Moody's sake and for their sake that he can string some weeks together of just multiple makes. And he's the kicker. So that's what they need to have happen. But that story, they're going to Seattle. And we don't quite know what this team is because we haven't gotten to see it. All of these injuries, crazy amount of injuries, so no Purdy and Trent, like all these guys. Like, I don't know what this team actually looks like after 3 preseason games. And even after watching practice, because you haven't seen them all together. Hopefully Michael Williams is back. CJ West is back by the opener. But these are guys who are playing. They haven't even played NFL. Well, CJ West did, but Michael Williams didn't even play an NFL preseason game. So there's just a lot. It's a lot of pressure. Nick Martin was flying around and making plays yesterday that was important. He got progressively better the first, the second, to the third preseason game. Well, that's what Michael Williams was missing out on. That's what CJ West was missing out on. That's what Upton Stout, who really did. I did not think the early reports of him in practice, how good he looked at nickelback, I didn't think those were overblown. I thought it was real. And so for him to now miss time, that really hurts. It really hurts. We'll see. We will see because we haven't seen it yet. So that's one of the big headlines. I thought Sky Moore making some plays, just being solid, was another big headline for them because they just need something in the special teams game. They need predictable and solid. And part of the whole Brant Boyer's here now, and they're gonna draft on special teams in the 7th round. That hasn't worked yet, but they gotta. How do you now, with all these injuries, make decisions that are special team? You already don't get many special team centric decisions when it comes to your 53-man roster. You just can't afford to have a guy who's only a cover guy, but can't be your 4th safety, let's say, or whatever. But this is also a team that needs to make Saran Neal, who is by far and away their best special teams player. He's played over 2,000 special team snaps. He's missed 2 games in his career. Like, that's an important player. But you need more than that. Like, can Nick Martin play special teams? He made a big hit on special teams yesterday. Can he play? It's critical that Nick Martin does not make mistakes on special teams because he's going to play really valuable special team snaps. And if you're going to, if you're missing an extra point here and a field goal here, some of those field goals get missed. But if you're not going to take advantage of every point on special teams, then you can't afford for breakdowns. You can't afford for muffs. So that whole thing is just not yet as buttoned down as you hope that, as they hope that it would be. So that's that situation. I don't know what to make of Jennings. We got 2 weeks here, but I do think if he's activated, cleared, whatever, right before the opener, he'll be on the same page with Brock Purdy. At least there's that. I'm not worried about that. And at the end of the day, I think he's got to, there's not really much for him to do. Like, he's got to get on the field and play. He's got to prove, if he doesn't get paid to the next contract payer, whether it's them or somebody else, that he's worth it. He's got to go out there and earn the next contract. That's really for him, that's the lack of leverage. He's got to go earn the next contract or accept less than he wants and, take that money and then show that he's worth it. I was thinking about it, like, for a guy who seems, some people play to prove people right and some people play to prove people wrong or do whatever. And it's great. It's healthy. Like, I'm going to perform for the people that believe in me, not for the people that don't. But not everybody ticks that way. It sounds great, and it's good for your mental health to perform for the people who believe in you, not to perform out of hate for the people that don't. But for some people, performing out of hate for the people that don't believe or that you perceive not to believe that works better. And I think Jauan Jennings plays like that kind of guy. So is it the worst thing in the world if he's out there playing angry for the 49ers, even if he's angry at them? I don't know. You just don't know how somebody's going to handle this situation. But I do think he's a guy that if I had to, I don't know. I don't know how that plays out. You got to get to week 1. That's the other thing. We had 2 weeks before now in the first game. You got to get there with him. Doesn't seem to be much of a trade market. Will be interesting to see what the Niners do. The 53-man cuts 1 o'clock on Tuesday. But remember this, the Niners drafted 11th. They have not been this high in the waiver order since they drafted Nick Bosa and were second in the waiver order, the order in which you get to select players that have been waived. You know, the year they drafted Trey Lance third, they were, I think, 12th in the waiver. They traded up in the waiver order that year. So it's the highest they've been in the waiver order since then. Not you're getting superstars here, but it's a little advantage, I guess. And that waiver order doesn't reset until the third week, I think after the third week of the NFL regular season. So going into week 4, where it starts resetting based on the current standings. You know, you go look historically where they were, what they did when they were number 2 in the waiver order. Go look at the players they claimed that year. There wasn't much. So I don't know if anything comes of that, but something to watch for. Brian Robinson, like after Garendo, he had the shoulder. He kept running it out there. Did not run the ball well. That was disappointing. But it's also not. There's so many moving parts. Literally, the Niners had 3 illegal motion penalties. So, you don't have a lot out there in terms of offensive line continuity, offensive continuity, blah, blah, blah. But that was not the performance you wanted to see, I think. Trey Lance, I do want to say this, and I wished I'd gotten this in during the game. It wasn't all bad. I'd forgotten about this game. Maybe you've forgotten about this game. But the forgotten Trey Lance performance that really did matter for the 49ers, that was before the famous Week 18 game in 2021 in LA, the Rams game, right? The famous Debo catches that ball. Jalen Ramsey goes for the interception. Debo takes off running. A couple of big third down conversions from Jimmy Garoppolo. No Trent Williams. The Niners trying to get to the playoffs, trying to save their season. They eventually would go on to the NFC title game and lose to the Rams. But to help them get to Week 18 and a chance to make the playoffs, they played the Texans Week 17. The Texans not a good football team, but Jimmy Garoppolo had an injured thumb, and Trey Lance had to start that game. It felt like a must-win game. And the Texans were like a 4-win team, but the Niners, Trey Lance threw a first-half interception. The Niners were down 7-0. Robbie Gould hits a field goal before halftime to make it 7-3 Texans. And then Trey in the second half throws a couple of touchdowns, and the 49ers come back. And they won the game. That was the last touchdown he threw in a game, was to Debo against the Texans January 2nd, 2022. So I just want to mention that game. I'd forgotten about that game until I was preparing for this preseason game. Like, the forgotten kind of must-win Trey Lance game. Jimmy couldn't play, and Trey Lance and Kyle Shanahan found a way. So Tariq Owens scored a touchdown, which was cool. Cool to be there for. Somebody made a joke like, "Guy, you were so ready for Luke Farrell's first career touchdown, and instead you got Tariq Owens," which was awesome. I mean, Tariq, I remember being at Levi's Stadium. I think I called it a open tryout on the broadcast. I think I corrected myself, but a local pro day is what it was. So, guys who play at local colleges or are from the area, even if they didn't play at local colleges, a couple of years ago, and Tariq Owens was at that local pro day. Like, guys, just maybe a couple of us will get signed by the Niners. T.O. was there, I remember, too. Tyreek, actually, I did a video a couple of years ago. It's somewhere in the YouTube history. Tariq made a catch, and I just remember this, almost ran me over on the sideline. Not the last time I almost got ran over on the 49ers sideline, but so that's Tariq Owens. And development and working hard and working hard and working hard. It's so good. It was awesome. I was really excited. As it happened, I debated, do I do the full Joe Starkey? I think he said it like 6 times. He caught it. That felt like a little much. I dropped one, Owens. And I tried to do the Starkey voice there. in the call, but awesome for him. Awesome for him. Like, that guy works really hard, and he's not going to make the 53-man roster. And he's a developmental receiver, but he's worked his ass off to develop. And I remember seeing him last year in training camp, and I said, everybody was talking about him because he was an easy name to talk about and get attention. And I remember saying, like, he's not making the team. But that doesn't mean he doesn't, full stop. That's what I said then. But the other thing to say is, like, but it doesn't mean you can't work at it. And that's what he's been doing. He's been working at it. I think watching him in practice from last year, this year, he's a better player. He had a drop in the Raider game, but that was a fun moment. That was really cool. And his dad did TO celebration. Like, that was awesome. It was just fun, and it felt fun. It was fun to watch, and I just wanted to acknowledge. And I, you're very aware of it in the preseason, where you're seeing the guys at the bottom, or guys that won't make the roster, guys who will be in the practice squad, scratching and clawing. I think everyone's so aware of it from watching Hard Knocks over the years too. It's just, you might get one shot to just justify being on the practice squad, or whatever the case is. And they clearly like him. Like, they like him. And when you watch him, he works really hard at it. So I just tip of the cap to him. Really cool moment. Glad I got to be there for it. I hope he enjoys the highlight. Hopefully there's more to come for him. But, I'm always very aware of, I think it comes from my time calling minor league baseball games. You always want to know when it's somebody's first home run. Yeah, in the moment. And for me, part of that is not for everybody else. You need to inform the audience at large, but kind of knowing what it must mean for that person. I don't want to overstate it or make too much of it, but they'll cherish that highlight. They'll watch that highlight. Even if they score 100 more, their first one matters. Things change after that. And if you catch 85 or 207, those are all great too. But I think that first one is you saying to everybody, I did it. To yourself, I did it. And it's a preseason touchdown, but he did it in that stadium, in that uniform. And that's awesome. And so that's what I'm always thinking about in that moment. You want to, not to go too inside broadcasting here, but I think it's important to try and understand why that moment matters to somebody. The 49ers, there was Curtis Robinson had a pick six. Curtis Robinson is not a guy we talk about a lot, fighting to make the roster. Think he will. We'll see. Tore his ACL last September in practice. He's running around because he scored a touchdown, but he's really running around because he just spent a year working his ass off to come back from an ACL injury and then had a pick six on Saturday. Like that, I'm getting too inside baseball probably, but that's why it matters. So anyway, I didn't mean to spend that much time on it, but I did. Okay. I thought I had more notes here, but more things in my head that I wrote down. Here we go. The season's beginning. It will be busy, and I'm excited about it. This week begins the college football season for me. There were games yesterday. Gee, Stanford lost a heartbreaker at Hawaii. Iowa State. I think I love going to Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii many times for football. I've covered the Hawaii football program, Hawaii, and Timmy Chang, their head coach, covered him a couple of years ago. Really like him. Every time I'm around the Hawaii program, it's a great experience. It goes back to my time with Dick Tomey. We did a game in Hawaii, and it meant so much to him. He's a legendary coach and a wonderful person and a huge San Francisco Giants fan, and lived in Hawaii and had us at his house, and it was amazing. And it's just the best. I say all that because I don't know why any team would ever schedule Hawaii on the road non-conference. It always happens week one, and it's not always an L, but it is just it is so risky. Your players are out there in Hawaii. They're having a good time. I would never, ever schedule that game. Good for Hawaii. Frank Reich, Stanford's coach right now. Good for Hawaii. Tough L for Stanford. I root for Stanford. I root for Cal. A lot of people at both places. I root for them. And I didn't watch the game live. I didn't realize they were playing out there until later. I got a text, and I was like, oh. I went back and skipped through the game on Saturday night when I got home, and I was like, I know what's going to. I didn't know the score ahead of time, and they lose on a walk-off field goal. It's never good. It's all my time going there with Fresno. You just worried about everything. So anyway, and then Kansas State lost to Iowa State in Dublin yesterday. That was also a great game. So the college football season starts for me this week. USC on Big Ten Network on Saturday, and then the NFL season starts the week after that. I'll be at Penn State week 2. There'll be some more information about. I won't jump the gun on all that, how things will play out this year, but we'll get to that middle of the week and or so. And, we'll be talking about everything here. So appreciate you guys. Fun preseason, filling in for Greg Papa on television. Loved it. Appreciated a lot of you who reached out and were supportive about it, or we're excited about it too. It's exciting for me to share it with you. And now we keep it rolling. So we'll have a busy football season, but it'll be great. Looking forward to it. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. And we'll talk soon. Later.